So she quit her job, I quit my job. And we moved our kids to our mum was in Manchester. And we said, we're going to give ourselves a year to set up this business. I told my dad, told my siblings, they thought I'd gone mad. They thought I was having a mental breakdown. They were like, this guy, how can you quit a job that's stable? Your wife's in a stable job and you're going to Ghana to go and set up a business. What's wrong with you? And it was difficult because we literally went there with just what we had, nothing. And we're like, let's just go and make this work.
Samuel Brookworth, a British-Ghanaian entrepreneur who has made waves in the business world. Samuel began his journey in sales and marketing at just 17 and gained national recognition on the BBC's The Apprentice in 2016. Since then, he has helped over 100 entrepreneurs launch their own ventures. In November 2020, during the global pandemic, he left his position at The Guardian and moved to Ghana. There, he founded Remoteli, an innovative outsourcing services company that supports businesses worldwide with remote staffing solutions. Join us as we go into Samuel's inspiring story, from his early beginnings and rise to prominence, to his mission of creating opportunities and making an impact on the world.
The approach you took is different from people who has come from with generational wealth. Of course, they come with capital, so they can do, we all know money make money. Yeah. But for people who has come from absolute zero, this is harder, and you obviously have to take a different approach.
100%.
What do you think that there is a difference between it?
I believe that the greatest businesses are those that are set out to solve a problem and have a purpose. I find that those who are purpose-driven end up having the biggest impacts, and those who look to chase money don't always have the impacts they desire to make. My dad always used to say to me growing up, it's all about impact. Impact, impact, impact. And if you look to make an impact, everything else will follow. So I think for most individuals, whether they come from wealth or don't, you find that because they're looking to solve a problem, everything else follows. Whereas those who are just looking to make money don't always tend to do so. I think impact is key.
Your father is also a businessman.
So growing up, he was a reverend minister of a church in the UK. So I grew up in a reverend minister's household. Myself, 4 other siblings. I'm a twin brother, got a younger sister who follows, brother that follows, and then last born girl. So there's 5 of us. So we grew up in a reverend minister's household. So for us, he always told us that, and my mum, obviously, she helped with the ministry growing up in the UK. And they used to travel a lot across Europe, Asia, Africa. They used to travel a lot growing up. So seeing different parts of the country, parts of the world, understanding different cultures, understanding different backgrounds and seeing how people were, it just made us think. And we used to move around a lot as well. So every 4 years, we'd have to move to a new school, a new house. So we were never in one location. So it really opened our minds to having to understand different people and work with different people and see how different people were in different parts of the country. So I think growing up, it made us different. But growing up in that environment, we always were impacted that purpose is key. If you want to do something, have intent behind what you're doing and make sure it's purposeful and meaningful. And in you doing so, everything else will follow. So yeah, I think growing up in Reverend Minister's household had that impact on us. Yeah.
I see. So you were a pure goal-oriented person.
Yes.
And that's what you gain from your family. Then if you're not coming from a background which is business-oriented family, where did you learn your business approach? Did you read something, or do you have a mentor when you grew up, or you just learned it in a practical way?
I was always involved in like sales and selling things and doing things, but I think the business part began at university, where my twin brother and I were part of like a Christian fellowship. We started a Christian fellowship at university. So as a part of the Christian fellowship, we started selling like t-shirts.
That's your first business?
That was literally selling t-shirts. And as a part of it, we were the joint president of the African Caribbean Society, ACS. And it was almost like running a business, managing the budgets and supporting or managing people in the teams and growing profits alongside that, running our t-shirt business. It really opened our eyes to business, and I loved that journey. And one thing a lot of people don't know is that during that time, I was actually doing a course. I was doing a sports science course at university. And then once we set up the business, I did 2 years of sports science, and I could have just finished it the 3rd year. But because I loved what we were doing, I didn't realize business was so intriguing to me. So I said to my dad at the time, I want to quit my sports science course and start a whole new course in information technology and business studies and do 4 years of that.
Yeah.
My mum was like, what are you? You're going to spend 6 years at university. You might as well just become a doctor. You could have done a doctorate. And I was like, well, become a doctor of medicine, sorry. And I was like, no, because though I can finish the course, I want to complete in something I'm interested in. And having done this in a second year of sports science, I found I really liked business and I wanted to do a business course. So my dad paid for, obviously, student finance only supports certain amount of time. So he's covered our 1 year during the university. So just paid for the tuition fee. So listen, if this is what you really want to do, let's go ahead and do it. So then I did another 4 years. So I was at university in total for 6 years, which many people don't know, and I probably shouldn't be saying that, yeah, but I was at university for 6 years. But I like the fact that I was prepared, my twin brother and I were prepared to take that decision because we didn't want to just graduate for the sake of graduating. We wanted to graduate in something that was meaningful to us and helped us to grow and learn. And I think that course we did in Sheffield was really good and was the real beginning of the entrepreneurial journey.
But a lot of people said the actual skill they have gained is from their first few jobs, not from university. Do you agree?
Some of the skills, yes, I would agree, came from the jobs. I think more so the resilience. So one of the jobs that I did that taught a lot of resilience was street fundraising. So when I was 17,
Street fundraising?
Yes, not 17, when I was, 17, 18, I'd go into the streets. So my twin brother and I, we like trying different things. So he was like, he wants us to try and do street fundraising one summer where you support or you street fundraise for a charity, British Red Cross, Amnesty International, wherever it is, and you raise money for them. So you've seen those guys on the streets in central London that tried to stop you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they tried to get you to sign up. We did that. So we did that for a whole summer. I did it for 2 summers back to back and absolutely loved it. I had people try and spit at me, people tried to abuse me, people tried to attack me. And you don't get paid great, but we didn't care about the money. We did it for the experience because I wanted to see if I met someone in central London who's from a completely different background to me, who would look at me and would make an assumption of me straight away. Can I get them to stop, see things from my perspective, change their opinions, and get them to give me their banking details on the streets of London instantly? I wanted to see how good I was as a salesperson. And I found over the course of the summer, initially I was awful. And then by the end of the summer, I was what I would call a sales god. I was so good. So doing that back-to-back summers got me to really understand how to approach certain people, how to assess certain people, their body language, how they would be. It teaches you to become a chameleon. So you become all things to all people. So the experiences did really teach me that.
Back to the business side of things, can you talk about when did you get your first financing and who you get it from?
The first financing came from myself and my friends. So I spoke to some of my friends about a business idea. My friends are doing these relatively well in their own careers, in their lives, and my twin brother. And I pitched them the idea and they were like, why not? We know you, we believe in you. We know that if you say you're going to create this into a business worth hundreds of billions of pounds in 10 years' time, we know you're going to do it. And because we've seen your journey, we want to benefit from that as opposed to any other investor. So because of that, they believed and they invested money into the business initially. And that we used as capital just to set things up, buy equipment, to do things, office space, and so on and so forth. But when we first started, a lot of people don't know this. And when I quit my job, so I worked at The Guardian as an account director, I quit my job and I said to Frederica, my wife, I'm going to Ghana.
That was during the pandemic.
During the pandemic. And most people, I told my mom, I told my dad, told my siblings, they all thought they thought I'd gone mad. They thought I was having a mental breakdown. They were like, this guy, how can you quit a job that's stable? Your wife's in a stable job and you're going to Ghana to go and set up a business. What's wrong with you? I told Frederica, she was like, listen, I've been with you for almost 10 years. Whatever you say you're going to do, let's do it. I know you're going to make it work. So she quit her job, I quit my job. We moved the kids to our kids to our mum was in Manchester. And we said, we're going to give ourselves a year to set up this business. And it was difficult because we literally went there with just what we had, nothing. And we're like, let's just go and make this work. And it required a lot of speaking to people, even little things like when I was speaking to the landlord of the building, we're in one of the most central buildings in Accra. So it's like opposite at the banks, so we don't really get like light off issues or any issues because our building is one of the biggest buildings on that road. And I spoke to the then property manager and I said to him, I'm coming to hire a floor in your building. while he has established organizations there. Initially, he looked at me, he laughed. He was like, listen, young man, we have businesses here who are huge. You can't just come to us and say you want to hire a floor. You don't have a deposit. You don't have anything. You just want to do that. And I spoke to him about the vision of what we're looking to build, the idea. And I'll give him a shout out. His name is Charles Jarpong. So I'll give him a shout out. Well, he was an early believer. He saw the vision and he honestly went out of his way to help us and support us. And for that man, I'll always be grateful, because it's not everybody who will see a young person in their mind. Ghana, I'm a young person. In the UK, I'm an old person, but that's by the way.
How old were you?
At the time, when I first started remotely, I believe 31, 32, and went there, and he believed in it. He believed in it, he saw it, he supported it, and was like, you know what, I'm going to let you come to this building, and I'm not going to get laid to pay the fees or the amount you should be paying. We're going to do a different payment structure just to help you to grow. And his faith in us paid off. Went from a room to ending up taking a full floor. And he was like, yeah.
He was the first person who said yes to you.
In Ghana, yes. In Ghana, 110%. If not for him, in Ghana, Remotely wouldn't have grown the way it grew. He believed very early on in the vision and allowed us to have the platform to grow. Yeah.
So Remotely is such a perfect project, because here you have competitors and you have to constantly beat someone. And there you have impact.
I didn't see it from that perspective. But yes, in the industry we're in, it's very competitive, because we're battling across, I would say, 3 industries: staffing, recruitment, and outsourcing. The way the recruitment industries have ran in the past have been quite archaic, and it does require a change. And the same as outsourcing industries and staffing to a certain extent. So Remotely is what I call it's disrupting the models and the way things have been done previously. We're disrupting the freelancer models of organizations that have been there and have done extraordinarily well. We're disrupting the way traditional recruitment has been done, because why would you want to pay a recruitment organization a percentage or a fee to find somebody when you can just get the person who would fit into your team seamlessly, culture, organizational fit from our organization, you pay monthly without having to entertain contracts or HR and so on and so forth. So we're changing models, but then ultimately for me, though, yes, I get to compete and work and try and grow a brand to become bigger than a lot of these brands, for me, it's more so about impact, because seeing people's lives change and seeing them go for a place of not having opportunities to having opportunities, for me, is always the ultimate goal. Because if it was purely based on competing with people, I'll probably work in one of the top organizations, just make, I don't know, millions from selling products and services. But it's the impact that's more so important to me.
Right. Say that I am going to start a company and I'm about to hire 100 employees.
Yeah.
And you, as the CEO of Remotely, how could you help me to bring down the cost of HR?
Ordinarily, if you're going to hire 100 people, let's say, for example, in the UK, right, a simple business, you've got funding, you want to hire 100 people in the UK or in America. You'd have to go through a long recruitment process, finding people, vetting them, interviewing them, contracting them. There's different things like national insurance, taxes, PAYE, all these things that organization you have to spend on. So if you're hiring, let's say, one person and their salary is £2,000, £3,000, £4,000 a month, it's a lot, especially in this day and age where you're trying to grow a startup. The advantages of using Remotely is that we look after all that for you. The person you hire works from our office space, number one. So you don't have to think about overhead costs. That's automatically out the window. You don't have to think about contracts, HR. We look after all that for you. You just sign a contract remotely and you pay a flat rate fee each month, looked after. We vet the person for you. We ensure that they're a cultural fit to your organization. Perfect. We ensure that their equipment set up, they're trained, they're ready. There's no language barriers. If it's French speaking person you need, we got them. Portuguese, Italian, Spanish, English, whatever it is, we have the talent pool to find what you require. But most importantly, they're a part of your team. So organizations we work with no longer see them as, in quote, outsourced members of staff. They see them as, oh my goodness, my staff member is working from the remotely office. And that's the key difference, because they realize that they're saving all these costs. The individual that you're hiring in Africa is getting paid a good salary in comparison to what they'd get paid ordinarily in their country. But then you're saving costs, not paying what you'd pay in America or the UK. So it's a win-win for both sides. We're a UK registered company, so obviously culturally Identity-wise, we transmit a lot of that over to the offices in Africa. But most importantly, you're rest assured knowing that if anything goes wrong, it's remotely that held accountable, as opposed to a freelancer somewhere in the world you can never contact or see again if you hired them directly. So this is the advantages of working with remotely.
How can I make sure that they're going to deliver the desirable result? Because they're too far away and they're remote.
Exactly. So the advantage is that we have teams who manage your teams. So we have departments, we have our people team, we have department heads, we have team leaders, assistant team leaders. So all these individuals are managing your teams. So rather than a person, if you hire them as a freelancer online, they can be working from their bedroom. You don't know what they're doing, how they're working, if they're working on other projects. Working remotely, they're in an office space. Our teams are managing them, watching over them, assisting them. They have a team around them, supporting them to help them do tasks if they get stuck or they need the support. So it's a collaborative team effort to help your business to grow. So in the end, it's not just one person in your business. You have a whole team of people supporting your business. And that's the beauty of working remotely, because then you're having the experience and knowledge of a team as opposed to just one person back in your business. And then ultimately, if the person's sick or they're ill or they can't work, we have what we call a buddy system, where the person who is supporting them steps into your business seamlessly to take over the task, because they're constantly shadowing what other person's doing. So you've always got support all year round. So these are all the advantages of working with us as opposed to another business.
How much can it bring down the cost financially? Can you give me about the approximate percentage?
100%. So on average, we're saving most organizations at least 70 or so percent.
70?
That's correct, yeah, because if you're hiring someone, and it's all costs across the board, not just employment costs, so you're looking at costs in relation to PAYE, taxes, benefits, salary, overhead costs. All these costs are no longer there, they're out of the window. The savings are huge. So it's not just about savings, because again, it's about the quality of work you're getting as well. The quality of work you're getting is as good, if not better, from the individuals we're hiring and finding from you than what you'd find here. And that's what's blowing people away, because we're seeing individuals that they've hired through our team who are progressing in their organizations. And that's what's shocking them, was they thought ordinarily they've outsourced from other regions in the world and they've got a certain level of service. But Africa or sub-Saharan Africa has never really been seen as an outsourced destination. So the level of talent they're getting is extraordinary, because a lot of organized people don't realize that in countries like Ghana, English is the first language. The cultural affinity between the countries like England and the UK are there because of the colonial past, the Commonwealth. So there's a lot of things that people don't realize. It's on the Meridian line, so the time zones are exactly the same, so there's no delays in time. So there's a lot of things that people don't realize that when they start working with, they're like, oh my goodness, we didn't realize young people were so culturally matched to us. We didn't realize they spoke so well. We didn't realize they were so in the know. We didn't realize that it was basically like hiring someone in the UK. We changed their mindset so it enables them to work with us and grow their businesses.
That's actually my next question. So how are you ensure they can culturally blend in? Because they grew up in a different country.
We have two ways. We have a recruitment team that's excellent at finding and sourcing and matching people. But we have a platform that we use, which is what sets us apart. So we have an AI platform that we have, we're constantly developing, that does all the matching for us. It matches individuals based off personality matching, organizational culture. We get enough information from the organizations as well as the individuals to make perfect matches. I think our match rate now is about 95 or so percent above. So once we match people, it's very rare that organizations look to want to change those individuals. So our matching is very seamless now. And it's all through the platform that we're building. And the secret sauce, I like to call it, but it's helping to build the business, and the platform's amazing. It's being built, and it's constantly developing, so constantly growing and evolving. But these are little things that keep us ahead.
Before you talk about, you hired about 70% females as employees.
That's correct, yeah.
Is that a deliberate result?
Definitely, we did that deliberately. My belief is that from a young age, if you really motivate, encourage, and support young girls from a young age, they tend to always be more advanced than boys. Especially in my house, I'm looking at the way my girls have grown up and the way they are in regards to comparison to individuals their own age. That's my strong belief. And let's look at Ghana as an example. The cornerstone of the country, its heritage, the history, has always fallen on women. And for me, it's all about supporting and encouraging women to be the best, most authentic selves in any organization. And when I look at our organization, giving women that platform and the opportunities to grow, I've seen them take Remoteli to another level. And I know that when given opportunity, they do above and beyond. So that's always been our principle, founding principle, and something we're always going to stick by, to show there's always more females in the organization than males. And it's proving that in doing so, we're always going to stay ahead because females are amazing.
Did you notice any difference the performance between females and male employees in the company?
I just feel as though if given the right opportunities, individuals thrive. And I think that a lot of times, a lot of females just aren't given the opportunities they deserve. And I feel as though a lot of males are given opportunities. A lot of males who are underqualified are given opportunities that a lot of females who are overly qualified aren't given. And I also feel as though a lot of females who have the qualifications, let's say they have 9 of the 10 qualifications, they won't put themselves forward for a role because they don't have all 10 of the 10. Whereas a guy who has maybe 3 out of 10 of the qualifications will put themselves forward because they're confident they'll go for it and they'll get it. And it's all about telling the females who have the 9 out of 10, you're more than enough and you can do this. And when you find out, when you push them and they do it, because they have 9 out of 10 of the qualifications, and the guy who has 3 out of 10, they find that, yeah, we are actually better. And we can actually do it. It's about pushing them and showing them that you can actually do it and you are better. And when you show them that and you push them that, they realize that, yeah, we are and we can.
Is tech playing a pivotal role in your company?
Tech is the most crucial part of our company. It's where our intellectual property comes. It's where our valuation eventually will derive from. It's key. We're a tech-led organization, so technology is a cornerstone of everything we do, which is why I emphasize on the platform that we're building, which differentiates us from different competitors in the market. So technology is key to everything we do and everything we're building, and it will be the main focus of what we're developing over the next 5 years.
What role AI has been playing?
Very crucial as well. So let's just imagine, so for example, if we're building a talent pool of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people eventually, we can't physically train, communicate with, interact with everybody. And that's where AI plays a key role in the way in which it communicates with people on our platform, trains people on our platform, prepares people on our platform for different roles, assesses people on our platform. These are the things we're developing with AI to ensure that we have a talent pool for the people who are ready to be able to step into roles.
When you started, do you got someone, a pal or partner who helped you, or you're the sole person who ran the whole
That's
thing?
a very good question. I think when you start any venture, it's important that you have individuals around you that can help you build a business. No man's an island. Everyone needs support and help. So when we first started, I had individuals who I brought on board to support and to help grow the business. That eventually led into teams and people jump off and jump on. The first individuals who were initially there are unfortunately no longer in the business, as can happen when you have individuals who first start with you. There's different disputes and different things that can happen with setting up a business. So they're unfortunately no longer in the business. But yes, initially we did have people who came in, and we still do. Now we have a C-suite, we have a senior leadership team of individuals who buy into what we're building and are growing the business.
As your co-founder?
Not as a co-founder, no. No, so we have a C-suite right now. We have a senior leadership team. But yeah, no, I wouldn't say I've had a co-founder. I'd say I've had an individual who I started with who unfortunately is no longer in the business.
Okay.
Yes. But with the co-founder thing, having co-founders and starting things with people can be very difficult, especially when growing a business, because humans are humans. And sometimes when you're starting something with somebody, there's so much that can come into that initial relationship. You can find that different things may jump in, like jealousy or misunderstanding of roles, and people may not dedicate the amount of time with other people, or you may start to elevate in the role and grow the business, and the other person you started with may start to become envious because they feel as though, oh, this person's gaining the limelight. And these are things that I experienced and I've seen firsthand. Again, my dad used to tell me that if you can run a business for the first 18 months, after that you tend to see success. But most importantly, if you can work with somebody for the first 18 months, you tend to find that after that period of time, once you've kind of gone through the initial hard period, you can grow after that. And if you can get through that period with somebody, you tend to find after that it becomes very successful. But it's getting through that initial period with somebody else can be very difficult.
How many people that had believed in you?
Initially, the belief was just Frederica, my wife. And then that belief then trickled into my friends because they were like, yeah, this guy can do it. Then that belief started trickling into individuals, suppliers and people I'd speak to. I think was the way I'd pitch the vision. Then that belief trickled into clients. Initially, I went into my network and I spoke to, not even an exaggeration, hundreds, if not thousands of people I spoke to initially. I'm a salesperson. I go through a lot of calls very quickly. So from August, September, up until December, I was doing pitching every single day. Every single person said no. Nobody wanted to get our services. Nobody wanted to buy into what we were doing because most of the people are part of my network on LinkedIn and things. All it took was one person to say yes. That was in December 2020. When the one person said yes, it's like the floodgates of heaven opened. Once one person says yes, suddenly you're getting yeses everywhere. And what took almost August, September, October, November, December, 4 or 5 months of hard grafting and everyone saying no, suddenly you have 6 months of just nothing but exponential growth because everyone's saying yes. So yeah, it was a belief, because if I gave up early from all the no's, you wouldn't know remotely today. But because we kept going, despite all the no's we got, which I'm sure you'll be used to when you're pitching for things, podcasts, whatever it may be, a lot of rejections. But once you start something and you keep pushing, eventually what you saw as a vision ends up coming to fruition because you just believed in something. And then one person said yes, and then suddenly it trickles on and everyone wants to say yes to you. It's a lot of persistence and a lot of self-belief. I'll probably even say more than 2,000. You need to do a lot of pushing, a lot of just digging, because most people get no's and they become discouraged and they want to give up, they don't want to do it no more. But each no is just a step closer to the yes. And it's easy to say it, but when you experience a no, it can become so demotivating and so discouraging that you don't want to even continue. And that's what separates individuals. Can you push past how you feel temporarily in a moment and keep going to keep pushing on until you eventually get the response you need? It's not easy, but it's worth it.
Do you remember the first client who said yes to you?
Oh, of course, I remember the first client. I remember on that call, like, I was speaking about Remoteli as if it was a grand business. I was speaking about the vision I had, and I was speaking about the company that was in my mind. People would have thought I was delusional. People would have thought I was mad. They're like, listen, dude, you're working off a desk in your room. There's no one. It's just you, a salesperson, and you've hired people in Ghana with no clients. But I would speak as though I had like one huge office building and hundreds of staff, but I wouldn't say I did. I had the confidence of someone who did. So when they would speak to me, they would be like, okay, this must be a real setup because this guy's speaking as though like, but I'd never lie. I would decorate how I would present things. Yeah. But I'd ensure that if I was speaking about something, I would just, say it in a way that was very appealing. And the first client who signed up, he was very aware that we were setting up. He was very aware we're starting up. He was very aware that he was going to be one of the first few clients because we'll speak to a group of people at a time. But he was like, you know what? Let's do this. And
How did you reach him?
How did you reach him? I think it was through one of the salespeople we brought on, and she reached out to him, and then he ended up jumping on the call with me. And then that's when I gave him the magic.
So you just made a deal over phone call?
It was over a video call, yeah, because it was during a pandemic at the time. So all the deals initially were over video calls. All the staff we worked with were over video calls initially. Everything was done over video calls. Video calls on a small desk in my room on my laptop. That business was built.
And he said yes.
And he said yes.
And here on the other side of the computer.
Yes, and then when I flipped the computer, I don't know if I was in my car at the time. When I did that specific call, I closed the laptop and I said, thank you, Jesus. And I was like, yeah. That was it, yeah. So
amazing, amazing. I couldn't imagine that because starting a business at 25 and starting a business at 30, it's a totally different thing. Yeah. Especially when you carry a family, a lot of people are relying on you.
Yeah.
Right now, I only have to care about, okay, am I okay this month? I don't have to think about a lot of things, but for you, it's totally different. I cannot imagine the amount of pressure that you carried.
Yes, I hear you, but I wouldn't knock the pressures of a 25-year-old in comparison to the pressures of a 30-year-old. You know what? Pressures at different parts of your life are different. So I wouldn't say that the pressures on my shoulders would be different or more than the pressures on 25-year-old shoulders. But whether you're a single person or whether you're an individual who has a family, pressures are different. In your 20s, you have a lot more energy, you have a lot more zeal, but then the world we live in is not easy. There's so much happening on social media. There's so much happening where people are succeeding at 25 years old, so that could impact on you, that I should be doing more. There's so much happening with family who would expect more from you. Whereas when you're maybe in your 30s, I could flip it. People might expect me just to be more settled. You don't have to push into a business. You can just literally just chill and have a job and just look after your kids. So the pressures, different ages are different. It's all about the pressure you put on yourself. And I think that's where it's key for ambitious people. The pressure I put on myself was a lot. So having a family and wanting to do all these things, I would say is different, because then I probably say I put more pressure on myself when I was 25 than when I was 31. So yes, the pressure you put on yourself, which is key. And it was not easy, but by the grace of God, it worked.
Do you think The Apprentice had brought you a lot of exposure to your business?
It could be seen as negative or positive exposure. One thing my mum used to always say to me growing up, you could be the greatest preacher in the whole world. If you don't have a platform, nobody will hear your message. So I think that The Apprentice gave me a platform for people to be more aware of who I am and everything that I do. So it helped in making people aware of who I was. From that, people then followed my journey. If people follow my journey, they'll be aware of Remoteli. So it helped in regards to giving me a platform so people could be aware of who I was and people to follow my journey. And I see that through my impressions on social media. When I put things out, my people that will see things, that will interact with things. I'll always be grateful for the opportunity. I'll always be grateful to the producers, Lord Sugar, Karen, Claude, for the opportunity to be on the show. And it helped because I think each year I have about 50,000 people who apply and they pick like 18. So that in itself was a blessing. So I'm happy that I got the opportunity to go onto the show and show everyone who I was. So yeah.
Is there a huge shift before and after?
Oh, massive. I think what happened before, those who knew, I've always remained the same as a person, but those who knew me were like, especially my wife, was like, you need more people need to be aware of who you are. More people need to know you, because if you had a platform and you stepped into rooms, it would open a lot of doors to space of who you are, how you think and how you are.
And another question I forgot to bring on previously. When was the hardest moment in your business journey? Was the first 18 months of the business? And you didn't know if it will work. What if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
And you gave up the opportunity in The Guardian. Could you go back?
I'm not too sure I would go back. Once I've moved on from something, that's me. But I would say the hardest period was when we were looking for clients initially. Not that it was difficult, because being a salesperson, you are used to that, but it does make you question when it's your own thing in comparison to something you're selling.
Yeah.
It makes you, or someone else's product or services, or another company's product or services, it makes you question if what you're doing is right. It can make you think, is this ever going to work? It can make you think, are we ever going to get this off the ground? It makes you think, is anyone going to ever sign up? It makes you think, did I make the right decision? It makes you think, oh my gosh, like, it makes you question everything, especially when you can see that you have a certain amount of months to ensure that you start making profit before you run out of cash. You start looking at, have I made the right decision for my family? Have I made the right decision for other people's livelihoods? I've persuaded other people to quit their jobs to join my business now. It makes you just question, like, you're just constantly questioning things, not because you're questioning yourself, but questioning that you just don't want to mess up for others. Like, you do not want to mess up for others. I don't want to have persuaded all these people to join my business. Then it comes to, hey, guys, it's not worked.
That's responsibility.
Peace. That's not cool. So I want it to work so that they know that they've made risks that have been worth the while. So that first part was so difficult because you do not sleep.
And you don't know if it will work.
Exactly. Well, in the back of your mind, you do, because that's why you're doing it in the first place. But the question marks are just like flying around. And then when it does start working, it's like, oh, it's a huge relief, because you're like, all the hard work is finally paying off, and it's so rewarding when you see the first few subscriptions finally land in your bank account.
As a CEO, you face a lot of situations where you have to make pivotal decisions, right? What do you think is the hardest thing to do when you try to make a decision? How do you balance all the factors?
I think working with people is never easy. It's very, very difficult managing emotions and feelings, and there's a lot to navigate. So I always try to just take into consideration everything, never just based off maybe monetary factors or stats and figures, but how people are, how people feel, and try to take decisions based off all the factors. Because as organizations grow, when you're managing one person, 10 people, 20 people, 30 people, 50 people, over 100 people, I know once we go to 500,000, 2,000, these dynamics will always change. But at the end of the day, they're human beings and everyone needs to be treated equally and fairly. So that's what we try to do. We have principles and values we have in this organization. And honesty, integrity, treating people fairly, equality, all these things are core values in our organization. And these are the kind of things that we look at when making decisions to ensure that all these aspects are being adhered to.
Were there any essential thing that you've done to help yourself to become successful? Or any habit that you've been changed?
For every individual, everyone's different. For me, the thing that helped the most in my life, in my career, has been prayer. Because I found that most people go 100 miles per hour all the time and don't take a moment just to kind of reflect, to think, and to gain guidance. Or even it's a case of just, you know what, just whether it's meditation or having that silent moment, just to really think. Too many people allow the pressure of the world to impact their decision making. Mm-hmm. First thing they wake up in the morning, straight on their phones, straight on Instagram, straight on TikTok, Twitter. It's a pressured world we live in now. Whereas you find that if you just take moments just to detach yourself, even if it's first thing in the morning, you wake up in the morning, your first thing isn't to pick up your phone, but just to lay there and meditate, pray, whatever it may be. I think that's what's really helped me. That connection that I've gained over time in my mind with God, or just that time just to reflect and just to think, you know what have I been called to do today? What am I meant to do today? Let me think about the day before, think through what I want to do today. Take time just to pause helps massively. Was the world we live in now is go, 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 go. And a lot of people work off or live off emotions and feelings. And when you take time to think, it changes your perspective on everything. The day before, me and you could have been having a massive discussion and we got into a heated argument and we were so angry with each other and went to bed angry in work. Then the morning I wake up and I'm like, you know what? Let me take a moment and think about things from her perspective. Let me think as to why she may have been angry, why she may have been upset, what could have been happening in her life, in her world, that she could have pushed over into the working environment where she could have been frustrated. Because I've done that, when I've approached you during the day at work, you know what, the way in which I spoke to you wasn't right because I could see that you're going through a lot of things happening in your personal life. Talk to me what's happening in your personal life. You're like, oh my gosh. We have a conversation, it's resolved. Because most people don't do that, they wake up first in the morning, just all bored and go on TikTok, go straight to what, seeing the person, bam, attack. Nothing's resolved. So I find that when people take time just to reflect, to think, to see things from other people's perspectives, just be a lot more chilled and present, that enables you to help. And that's what's helped me massively in my life and my career. Prayer, reading my Bible, connection, I feel, and my relationship with God has been so key in my growth of my career. So yeah.
If you'd like to take Remoteli further, what would you do?
I think the next stages, we have very elaborate and drawn out stages in regards to how we're going to grow the business. A lot of it obviously does require funding, as you said earlier. Money makes money. So that is the next stages where we're looking and speaking to mainly individuals who believe in what we're doing and want to have an international impact. For me, it's not just about money. We've had VCs who have now come. Initially, we went out to loads of investors, loads of VCs, and they all said no. And now they're coming to us wanting to invest. And like I've always emphasized, it's not about money. It's about having the right people involved in what we're doing to ensure we're growing something long-term to have a long-term global impact. So I think for me, it's about speaking to the right people, getting the right people involved, ensuring that we have the impact we want to have, and growing the business the right way to ensure that we have the global impact we want to have. We want to transform the continent of Africa, which in turn will help support organizations around the world. And to do that, you need the right people involved to help grow that business, whether it's individual internally, which we're looking at increasing our C-suite and our senior leadership team, or it's funding. It's all about the right people, which is the next steps for us.
And are you going to replicate it somewhere? And which countries or regions are you looking into?
Yeah, so we're going to expand. So we're expanding into Kenya, Zimbabwe, eventually Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal. So there are a lot of countries we've earmarked to move into. And as the funding comes in, we'll have the opportunity and the ability to do so, to grow the model in these countries, to help give young people the opportunities they require, but also to diversify our talent pool to cater to the demand around the world. So yeah, these are the countries we're looking to step into.
That makes sense. And we all know Warren Buffett is more of an investor. Would you prefer to become an investor or an entrepreneur?
I do things in line with what I think I've been called to do. So in this stage of my life, I believe that I need to do remotely to have an impact for the world. I think it will get to a stage in my life where I need to invest in other people's dreams and visions to ensure that they come to life. I do believe there are people who have the most amazing ideas and dreams and visions who just do not have the support or the capital to be able to get off the ground. And it requires individuals with right hearts that want to support and want to help to get that to happen. And I'd like to think I'm one of those individuals. So I think it'll get to a stage of my life where I have the ability to just support and grow people's dreams and have the ability to actually help them to do that. So maybe I will get to a point where I just become an investor, just invest and see people grow, and businesses and ideas grow. So yeah.
I think it feels to me that you are more of an entrepreneur rather than investor, because again, you need to smell that blood. Right.
Yeah.
I think it kind of loses a part of fun if you're just only a sole investor, because you're seeing other people do things you're not doing and you like to be involved.
That's a good perspective to have. I think we have to see. I think there are seasons in my life where yes, I will smell the blood as you will quote, and I want to be the person to go and do it. There'll be other times in my life I'm like, listen, I just need a break for a period of time. I want to support people. Then when I see another opportunity, I don't want to just be an entrepreneur for the sake of being an entrepreneur. If it's not having an impact or creating change, I want to chill. And then when I see that there's an opportunity to impact and have change, I'm all over it. But you're right, I'm definitely the kind of guy who ever retire. I'll never retire. I will never just relax. I could be 99 years old and still be trying to do things. That's the kind of person I am. I don't like relaxing. I will always do something, but only if it's impactful.
Yeah, you start with an ambition, a goal. And I think entrepreneur is just a label that society has put it on you. Yeah. But what you only want is one thing.
Yeah, completely.
To make positive impact.
I completely agree. So yes, that is me. That is me. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.